Try to keep it to under an hour and respect everybody's time. Today's session's on recruitment and selection. I know Amber sent out the invite and the social media on recruitment, selection, and onboarding. We really decided that we wanted to dive deep into each topic. So we kind of wanted to do recruitment and selection today and then look at a session in March on all onboarding and get into details. Because sometimes I feel like if you glaze over it, that's what you're looking for is more detail. And we wanted to be specific in these presentations to give you like valuable practical information. So today's session is just on recruitment and selection. So a little bit about myself. My name is Tina Lizel. I started Red Rock HR in 2023. I've been excited and working alongside Community Futures Entre-Corp for a while now. And my big mission is making sure that I understand my clients' needs through a really unique people approach. And my vision is to make sure that, you know, everybody has access, small businesses, leaders, even people seeking career assistance, that they have access to HR services. So kind of that's my vision for my organization, and my purpose is just basically giving back to the community and making sure putting the human back in human resources. I find everything is so strategic and data driven now, which is really great. You need that data information, but it's also taking the people out of business decisions. And I think a lot of people are burnt out and are tired. So it's bringing the human back into human resources. A little bit my values. I really like working with Community Futures Entre-Corp because I'm really all about community involvement. That's one of my core values. So I love doing these presentations to help business owners, entrepreneurs, operations managers, whatever your title is, and supporting you with your needs in the HR realm. A little bit about myself. I actually had a 9-year history in finance. I came up I completed a Bachelor of Commerce in Finance, moved all the way up to be a certified financial planner, decided that wasn't for me. So took all those lovely letters and everything under my name and decided to go back to school, and been in HR for the last 7 years as well. I completed a labor relations and HR certificate. Most recently, I completed a couple years ago my master's degree in HR, some investigation training. Specifically, I've done a lot of investigations. So there's an expert. I love him, Bob Stenhouse out of Viterra Solutions. He's great. He's all about investigating training. So I took that and just recently took my certified talent management profession, and I'm waiting to see if I got my designation. So lots of background when it comes to finance and HR, kind of blended. And payroll in there a little bit as well. So I come with a wide variety of knowledge for you guys. I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. Today, I'd like to honor and acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 7 and Treaty 4 territory, traditional lands of the Siksika, Blackfoot, Kainai, Piikani, Stoney Dakota, Tsuut'ina, and well as the Cree and Sioux and the Saulteaux bands of the Ojibwa peoples. We also honor and acknowledge that we are on homelands of Métis Nation within District 2, Battle River Territory. So an overview today, what I'm going to get into is the 5 phases of talent acquisition. You might not be familiar with that. Talent acquisition is what human resources use, and that's what we talk about. It's the 5 phases all the way from sourcing, and I'll get into that a little bit later, all the way to an onboarding. So I'm going to get you more of a little bit HR perspective on recruitment selection, and then we're going to go through those 5 phases. So we're going to go through sourcing, attracting, going to look at job description and job ads. We did last month a presentation a little bit on job ads and job description. I brought a little bit of that information back from those presentations because it's relevant. Sections of job descriptions, I'm going to go over how to improve job ads a little bit from the last time, and then go over recruiting and selecting as well. So I'm going to dive right into it and look at sourcing and attracting. So when we look at the 5 phases of talent acquisition, it does start with obviously sourcing, and you'll probably see I have a little fisherman guy there, and somebody taught me a long time ago that looking for talent, looking for, you know, candidates or hiring of people is like fishing. And so when I go through the sourcing and attracting the 5 phases of talent acquisition, you'll see me kind of resort to it as fishing, because it is like finding candidates is a lot like fishing. So when we're sourcing, what we're doing is we're looking for that talent. We're looking for that fish. We're looking for that person to hire. Depending on what kind of organization you are, sometimes it could be manager, or it could be more frontline staff. So depending on the level of skills and experience you're looking for and competencies might depend, but it doesn't matter. Sourcing is all about basically where to look for that talent or that fish. Attracting is the next part of the phase. Attracting is how the different lures you're using to attract that fish. So that's when you're doing different job ads and people can see you out in the community at trade shows and posting and social media. So it's all the different things you're trying to do to lure them, as well as what you're offering in that lure. So in that job advertisement. Recruiting is when you actually you found somebody, you really like them, you're reeling in that fish and you want to see what qualifies you prefer from that. So that's when you get, 50 to 100 resumes, and you really want to make sure that you're looking at resumes, but and pre-screening them. But a lot of the time, and I share this a lot, is that the people who sometimes you're looking for, that talent or that big fish at the bottom of the lake, are the ones that have that special talent, and they are happy where they're at. They're not tossing out their resumes or biting on hooks. They're happy in their lake. Resume reviewing is fine, for looking for fresh applicants, but sometimes you'd be quite surprised when you're networking and sourcing and you see people working, or you hear or you see them happy at a role. I always say it's really important to keep that in the back of your mind when you're looking for top talent or very specialized skills or management level roles versus more entry level roles when you're looking through more resumes. A selection process is which fish or what talent has the qualities that you're looking for. So once you have an applicant that turns into a candidate, you look at pre-screening them, and we'll get into what that process looks like. And then onboarding. Onboarding is how do we get that fish integrated into that new fish tank or that new work environment? How do we make them so that they're comfortable? Because lots of times what a lot of employers miss the mark on is we got them and they made a decision to come into the organization, but we haven't mitigated the risk of them jumping ship or going to another organization because somebody else has put a lure out that's more enticing. The one tip I always give as well is employee engagement process starts right from talent acquisition. So it's about the employee experience and support they receive until they are fully integrated. So people have made typically the decision to join an organization. But lots of time they're let go too fast in the onboarding process. And then when an opportunity arises, there's not enough or strong enough stay decision. And so we really need to learn how to cement that as well. And that'll be part of the onboarding presentation next month. So when it comes to sourcing, what are we looking for? There's lots of different places to source for candidates or fish. So sourcing comes from two areas. There's internal and external. So when you're looking internally, you're looking within your network. So that's depending on how large your organization is, you're looking at promoting from within. So you're looking at retaining top talent and reducing hiring risks. Another really great option, having some sort of career pathing or career path or learning and development design within your organization really helps people promote within. You know what you're getting, you know the red flags of that person, their personality. Promoting within I always really support that. It goes along with the saying, into the pan and out of the pan and into the fire. Sometimes when you get somebody else coming in, you don't know what you're getting. So I'm really big on promoting within if you can. Another opportunity is it takes time, and I completely understand. Past applicants is a great opportunity. Sometimes you had 2, 3 great candidates and you chose one, but you keep them on the back burner as a high potential. You keep a database of those strong high potentials, because if that person doesn't work out and they don't make their probationary period, or say somebody else quits or something goes on and you have a leave, you have a second person that may pick up a casual or part-time position, and you've already done a lot of the vetting when you've looked at their resume, you've talked to them. And so sometimes it's a great process of, don't reinvent the wheel and post it again. Look at who you've already interviewed. It's a great opportunity to trial them out as well. Employee referrals is great for internal sourcing. It's offering incentive for employees to recommend good hires. So you can put in some sort of program into your policy on employee referrals. If they stay for 6 months, a year, you track it on a yearly basis, and you can do a rewards to that employee. They can get a bonus of, $300, $400, $500 depending on the level. And it's sourcing out candidates, because if you have a really good employee, birds of a feather flock together. So if you have somebody you think is a really good employee, they might tell their friends, and you might get somebody come on board, and they may be a really good hire and really good cultural fit and fit for your organization. So sometimes that employee referral option is a really great program you can put in place. External sourcing is all about expanding your reach and really getting out in the community, into the network, and where you can try to get as much exposure as possible. So I provided, and you can see in the pictures, there are lots of different external sources. We can use local job boards and platforms. So if you're not using it already, Medicine Hat Chamber of Commerce has a job portal. You can post on there if you're a member, and it puts out jobs that are available out in the community. I find it goes mostly to a lot of the existing clientele of the chamber, but the nice thing is they throw it out in advertising. If people follow the chamber, they can see that you're hiring, or if people follow it on social media. So it's a great way to leverage their network. Medicine Hat Career Center, there's you can always network with local universities and colleges. It doesn't just have to be a Medicine Hat. You can look at, Academy of Learning in town. You can look at even like SAIT, NATE, Lethbridge Community College, Lethbridge University. The whole point is though leveraging a post-secondary institution for things like internships, like a paid internship, co-ops. Those are really great ways, or even practicum placements. It's a great way to trial a student or trial somebody, see how you like them. If you go through a post-secondary education institution, you don't have to pay them typically for practicums. They don't have to be paid. They say you can pay them if you'd like, but usually they're unpaid practicums. Internships have to be paid in Alberta. But it's a great way an opportunity just to trial somebody out. And if they don't work out, great. And if they don't work out, that's fine. If they do work out, great. And you can always piggyback that off with government resources like the Alberta Summer Student Job Grant and things like that. So not only do you get a student, if you want to pay them, you can use that granting. You got to complete that application usually middle of December for the next year in June. So you have to be on top of it as an employer, but it's a great opportunity to think, hey, I have an extra project I want somebody to do, but in all the resources, get the grant in December to hire somebody in June, and you're good to go. And I'm not an expert on the granting, but they cover a portion of the wages, not fully, but if you can get, $7,500 to $1,000 to $5,000, depending on where you fall in the program of coverage, and you're only paying like $1,000, $3,000 out of pocket for the whole summer, why not? The government of Alberta does have hiring fairs and employment services. And there's other places in the community as well that do it, like Samus Immigration, the YMCA, Medicine Hat College. They have job fairs and employment services. It's really important to jump on job fairs, get your name out there. It's not only advertising for your company in the community and for students up and coming, or just letting people know in the community, but it's also just a great way to find candidates that are looking for a job, especially because you already have students who are taking education, they're skilled, and they're looking at coming out of school. And those trade shows are usually typically right in February or March, right when the post-secondary education programs are done in April, so they're ready for employment right away, or again in the fall. There's other places you can promote, like industry-specific or niche platforms. And what I mean by that is places like if you're looking for a tradesperson, Alberta Apprenticeship Board, you can apply and post on there. There's LinkedIn groups, or you can buy, or you can do it for free, but LinkedIn has a recruiter option, and LinkedIn has a recruiter option where you can pay, but it also has free, so you can post as well. More professional roles I find are for LinkedIn, Indeed, or Glassdoor. That's where a lot of professionals are looking, but a lot of times it's important to look at associations. So if you're looking for an HR person, it'll be go to their association, CPHR. You can post on there. They have opportunities. They put them out in an email. Same with all other associations like CPA, APEGA for engineers. Lots of people follow and are legacy, or they were part of that association and now they're graduated and on, so they get those emails. So it's important. Sometimes you can persuade somebody that even has experience from those associations. The chamber has lots of networking events as well. I always say sometimes the home and leisure show is a great opportunity if you're not really selling anything, but it's a way to showcase your company. I'm out here, and even as people walk by, you say we're hiring, and it's a great opportunity to talk to people. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. You not only are looking for staff and maybe find somebody there, but you can also advertise for your business at the same time. A lot of times, again, if you don't have the time to post and put on LinkedIn and Indeed, or Job Bank is another really good one. It's utilizing a recruiter or headhunter to help you locate talent. Sometimes the average talent it takes is on, if you do it properly, from creating the job ad to job description all the way to interviewing your top 2, 3 candidates, doing references, giving and signing, creating a contract and hiring them. Typically that can take anywhere from 18 to 32 hours. And so sometimes if it's worth your time not to spend 4 full days doing that over a period of time, I always tell people it's worth the time to hire somebody. It's professional, get their opinion, and utilize them, or even services like myself. Get somebody to go to career fair for you, or a trade show for you. They can bring your resources and stand in for you. If you don't have the time, because I get it, as a business owner, you're doing multiple hats. And so sometimes it's having somebody do that. So sometimes leveraging and asking for that support is a really good opportunity. So building a relationship with local career centers and industry organizations to access talent pipelines before you need them is a key thing for all business owners. When it comes to attracting, there's 2 things we need to look at. So we need to look at creating an effective job posting and maximizing job posting visibility. A strong posting and employer brand will bring in qualified applicants instead of wasting time and sorting through unqualified resumes. Do you want me to stop, Amber, quickly so I can answer a question?
It's okay. Wes just asked if they were practicum students at the college looking.
I know there is. Oops, sorry. I actually am having one come on board this summer. You have to reach out to the college proactively. There's about 4 or 5 different programs: business admin, marketing.
Tech,
Yeah, there's
design,
marketing
accounting.
and events one. There's a bunch of different programs that are out there that they need practicum, and sometimes it's only a week of hours, like 40. Sometimes it's like 240 hours. And so if you reach out to the college ahead of time that you're interested, they'll put you kind of on a list, and they give you some resumes to look at, and you actually pick somebody that you're interested in, because they hope it's going to turn into a job. And so it's nice you have a little bit of control over that. So it's another great opportunity again, to leverage talent, trial them out, but then hopefully, gain experience. Work out great, you had some talent to help you, and if not, you gave them some job experience.
Yeah, and if they're just to add on to that, and sorry, Tina, to interrupt you. If there's a grant available, they generally know that information as well. So they will tell you where to apply, who to apply to try to get some funding for that student. So there might be some opportunity there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So when crafting an effective job posting, we have to look at clear and engaging language. So really avoid jargon and be really specific on what you're looking for. I always like to say, highlight company culture and values, show people why they want to work for you. Define the role and expectations. So really big thing is be honest about the skills and work environment and challenges in this role. There's nothing worse than hiring somebody, they take it, it's not for them. It was embellished, and then they leave in 3 months. And you're like, why do I have turnover? It's like, you'd be surprised when you say, I'm looking for a go-getter to define this role, make a policy on this, it's a role in progress, and I want you to take it and run with it and design it and find efficiencies. You find the right candidate if you're honest. Very important to include salary ranges and benefits. Pay transparency is already almost across Canada. The only provinces right now that don't have it are Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, and Ontario. So we're like all the eastern provinces and BC have it, and it's slowly closing in. You're going to have to provide some sort of starting wage or wage scale. The legislation's coming through, and it's going to hit us. It's just a matter of time. So be comfortable with doing a starting wage if you are posting. I really believe in transparency because it attracts serious candidates. If you only can pay $65,000 for a manager and somebody wants 120, you know, they like, instead of wasting your time and their time and going through the whole interview process and they finally figure out the wage, it's pay transparency is the way to go when you're posting, because you can find maybe someone who's an up and comer that maybe needs a little bit of coaching, but they're willing to put the time and effort in. To maximize jobs posting visibility, cross post on multiple platforms. So, LinkedIn, Indeed, Chamber, job boards, and really know your audience when you're looking at it and what you're looking for. You can utilize social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram to target passive candidates. So people are following on social media, people share, make your links shareable. You'd be surprised what people see. I've had a lot of people, I share on social media on jobs I've shared for other people, and it's like, hey, Jane, you're really interested in this job, would be good for you. They share through a friend. Like, they know people are talking and they know when people are looking for work or when they're looking for things, and people come across it, they'll share it. Leverage your employee network. So ask staff to share openings, ask them to put on their LinkedIn, ask them to talk to people. It's okay to share that you're opening and you have a position available. And like I said previously, attend career fairs to connect with job seekers directly, people who are actually actively interested. I find though, when it does come to multiple platforms, avoid overposting to too many platforms. Stick to 2 or 3 channels to attract the right candidate. If it's, the college, Indeed, and LinkedIn or whatever, because when you're trying to source and screen candidates and get multiple, it can sometimes get messy. If you were in the presentation last month or the webinar last month, these are kind of some information that I really thought really ties into this as well. So I wanted to bring it back, these next 3 slides. So job description creation before a job ad. So it's really important to always have your job description ready to go before you create your job ad. And the reason why is you really understand the duties, qualifications, and expectations of that role, what you're looking for, and it really defines what you're looking for and all the competencies and everything you're looking for, soft skills, hard skills for that role. It ensures a job ad reflects accurate and consistent information, so you're not changing or kind of subtly off. You follow the job description and you make it, your job description is quite long and lengthy, where your job ad is just a highlighted version of it, and it makes it for consistency purposes that you're not saying things that you shouldn't. It reduces miscommunication and misalignment during recruitment and onboarding. So like I said, if you follow the job description, what you're looking for, and you add in the job ad, you're not going to bring on people or attract candidates that completely were like, I was misinformed, your job ad said this. If you follow to your job description and it aligns with what you're looking for that role in the organization, you'll have a better fit for probably finding a good applicant. It also helps avoid legal risks tied to poorly defined or misleading job posts. So knowing what specific type criteria you're looking for can help you not be discriminatory or maybe mislead people, and then they took a position and you're like, that's not, and they take on a job, and there is legal risk if your job description says one thing and the job ad says another. They take the job and it's not what they look for, right? So there's some risk there that employers have to look after, because it could be depending inducement, or it can be they can go after you for I won't get into the legal part of it, but they can come after you as well for misleading job postings. When it comes to the job description, I think a lot of people always wonder, what do you put in a job description? And so there's always your title. If you start with, I'm hiring for a mechanic, it's full-time, part-time. If it's more of a clinical setting, you may put the FTE if it's 0.2, 0.6, 0.8. Put who it's reporting to, a manager or director. If they have any direct reports, I'm really going to feel for who am I reporting to, who reports to me. The job purpose is a brief overview of all the objectives. It's like, I'm hired as a mechanic to look after the fleet of company X, and I'm taking care of the safety management side of this, creating budgets and sticking to it, fixing vehicles and monitoring and mentoring staff, something, whatever it is, but very high level. Key competencies, key responsibilities and duties. So that's those hard duties that and clear expectations and tasks they're supposed to be doing. Like if it's fixing fleets or fixing mowers or whatever those tasks and duties are, they're very, very specific. But it also puts in competencies. So I always like to have competencies in there, and a lot of people miss putting that in. And this is help you with your selection process, is really understanding what type of attitude, interpersonal skills, soft skills align with this role in the company and the demands of the role. So these things are, this includes like communication, like do they have really good communication skills if it's for, or attention to detail if it's for like a medical office assistant? Do they have really good leadership skills for if it's for a management job? If it's problem solving skills, depending if it's, if it's a maintenance job or role, do they have problem solving skills? Are they adaptable? Can they change? Are they a really good team player? So sometimes it's really important to really understand and put what key competencies, maybe the top 5 to 10 competencies you're looking for, can really help somebody understand what you're looking for that person. Required qualifications is basically just your education or experience you're looking for. So many years of senior experience, so many experience, or management is preferred, or leadership is preferred, or I prefer business certificate. But it's just your required qualifications you're looking for. Working conditions, I love to put this in, and because it talks about the physical environment. It says it's, am I working inside or outside? If there's some lifting involved, can I work remotely or not? It's realistic expectations of the role so people really get an understand of what it looks like. And performance metrics. Sometimes it's great to put performance metrics on it just to say, and as well as to keep yourself accountable as a manager or a supervisor or a business owner. What are you evaluating this employee on? Their key metrics that they'll be evaluated on, and you can take that into their performance management. And when you do your performance reviews, because sometimes people get in there and they just say, what are their goals? What is things you want to work on? They don't really have set criteria for a role, and then they kind of fumble through the performance, and people don't really get much out of performance management. Where if you have a clear job description that talks about their duties, their competencies, and you have some metrics tied to that. So if it's answering the phone efficiently and on the first ring, or if it's, getting 50 requisitions moved, or if it's, sometimes leadership is a little bit more vague, but it's, actively and proactively dealing with employee relations issues. You can hold people accountable to those quantitative and qualitative metrics when they're listed there, and then you know what you're looking at in the performance management piece. Lastly is improving job advertising. So employers can improve by focusing on clarity and engagement in job ad. And this is from the last session I did as well. So it's really important, depending on the role you're hiring for, obviously you have to figure out your target candidate. Are you looking for somebody seasoned and experienced manager? Are you looking for a frontline staff to be like a server or waitress? And where are they hanging out? Where are they located? Where do they go to school? Where are you going to get the most exposure and advertising opportunity, right? So if you're looking for younger people, it's, Instagram, Facebook advertising, or Facebook job posting, and even TikTok has it. I'm not a TikToker, but TikTok has it. Determine your pay transparency initiative, if you're going to put the pay or the scale or what that is for job postings, and stick to it. Because once you, and a caveat to that is, make sure when you're ready for pay transparency. There's nothing worse when you're posting for a position and staff are getting $2 an hour less, that you did a wage analysis and make sure that your staff are up to where you're hiring, because they see that and that'll make staff very disgruntled. Utilize software. So like I said, LinkedIn, Indeed, a recruiter. Be realistic and honest in your role description when you're advertising your role. Use inclusive language to attract, positive language, inclusive language to attract talent. Highlight company culture, growth opportunities, and key benefits. So sometimes you can put what's called a candidate value proposition in your job posting. It doesn't have to be very long, but sometimes people put, I have benefits, company bonus, and I have, parking on site. A candidate value proposition is a little bit more meat and potatoes. It's like you're marketing yourself, and it's like, what are you bringing to this candidate? And it's like, we have great culture. We do Christmas parties. We do work from home Fridays. We do, sell yourself in that job advertisement. Focus on the most impactful duties and qualifications to prevent overwhelming candidates. So don't get into the nitty-gritty, high level it from your job description on what the key duties are. If you have the resources and the IT person, or if you're able to, add an applicant tracking system and embed it in your website. So what I mean by that is, there's some software out there that you can use. There's lots of software out there. And one of the examples, Bamboo HR, you can use that for hiring and sending offer letters. But they have a system where you can embedded into your website. So basically you can put all your, you can post on LinkedIn, you can post on Indeed, you can post all these different places, but you post a link there that you want people to apply for a link. The link goes to your website. The website goes to Bamboo HR, which is just one of the platforms you can use. And then what happens is it all filters through to you in an applicant tracking system. So instead of having to look at 3 different platforms, all your candidates, if you hire quite often or in mass volumes, all your candidates come to one place. You see them. You can see that they hired in the past if you said no in the past. And it's a great way to just kind of not get lost in the clutter, because sometimes too many places you're looking gets dysfunctional. So sometimes bring all the platforms to one place, which is an ATS, an applicant tracking system, really helps clean things up. Optimize your SEO. So if you are going on social media and you're posting, it's a really great opportunity to make sure that it's labeled properly for search engine optimization. Or website visibility to make sure it's coming up and prompting properly. Use multimedia. So lots of recruitment companies, they post a video and they like something that catches people's eye. We are in an information overload, and people's eyes are in their attention span, unfortunately, are just it's attention now is a currency. And so if we can get their attention in some way, if it's a quick PowerPoint presentation, with a couple pictures of your office and people working, if it's a quick walkthrough video that's speeded up of what it looks like, and somebody walks through the business and what it looks like working there, that's voiced over, but you'd be surprised, you can use that over and over again, and it will really help people engage with your company and know what it looks like and get a better feel for it. Or if, again, like I said, if you don't have time, work with a professional. So recruiting. So when we look at recruiting, there's 3 things we have to do. We have to make sure we set clear selection criteria and know what's not negotiable. We need to look at resume, pre-screening, and filter who's the best candidate, and pre-screening interviews. So what does that mean by set clear selection criteria? So we need to literally look at what are the must-have skills or trainable skills, or those hard skills and those competencies that we're looking at. So what's essential versus coachable. So it's really important to think, what do I really need, but what am I really willing to wiggle on a little bit? Because finding that perfect unicorn employee is not going to happen. So sometimes it's making sure that what's a hard no and what is coachable. So look for skills and competencies on a resume that is aligned with your job description. When it comes to job versus company culture and fit, it's really important to know, does the candidate align with team dynamics or your work environment? So technical skills, typically, unless it's a white collar or gray collar where you have to go to get school and technical skills, a lot of the skills can be trained on the job. I always say you cannot train attitude. So people can grow and they become professional if they want to, but there's some things like they have somebody's attitude, drive, behavior. You can't change that. So sometimes it's making sure that their attitude and values really align with your work environment to really make sure they mesh with your team. So a job fit is that they can fit in the role, but a company fit is for later down the road, will this person fit long term? Can I promote them? So when you're hiring somebody, really think 3, 5, can this person do? Are they going to do in this role? And maybe they move to the lead position next, and maybe they can be the supervisor next. Do they have that potential? So it's really important to look at that. Because if you're looking at promoting within, you want to hire the best candidates to move up and based on your mission, vision, and values. When we're looking at resume screening and filtering, what we're looking for is look for alignment with the job description, identify red flags versus coachable gaps. So people are job hopping, vague descriptions, missing key skills. I always am surprised when people look at candidates for a role that's high attention to detail, and there are spelling mistakes in the resume or cover letter, or you specifically ask in the job posting for them to send it to John and they don't say John's name and it's generic, and it's like, am I just another place you posted or applied to? You'd be surprised when you add those little intricacies to your job posting, you can tell who's really interested. So when it comes to those, look at those red flags. So they're telling you something. That person was in a rush. They really didn't care. This is just another job. I do state though, with job hopping, yes, if somebody's somewhere 6 months, 1 year, if they're young and they're moving up the ladder, be aware of that. They're trying to move and gain experience and skills. It's different if somebody's in a more senior position and job hopping all the time, what that looks like and why. But in today's world and labor market, unfortunately, job hopping is kind of a new trend. People stay somewhere 2-3 years, gain corporate skills, go somewhere else, gain some great corporate skills and experience, and go somewhere else. So I think you have to be aware and understand that they may come into your organization and do it. They may stay long term, but that is the reality of the labor market we have, is that loyalty, that 30, 20, 40-year employee is no longer the mentality in the labor market. And with missing skills, just really make sure that if there's some type of overview or high level, it's really important to dig down. I always spend in my interviews, when they go through their past history and experience and tell me about themselves, I spend a long time in the first probably 10 or 15 minutes in the interview, really understanding where they've worked, what skills or projects they've done, why they moved on, and really move up their resume. And it's really important to dig down in that. Sort candidates into A, B, C list priorities who move forward, or whatever your scale system is, just so you have an idea. It could be like high potential, so a high PO, and it could be like a maybe and a no. When it comes to pre-screening interviews, some organizations do them, some don't. It just quickly confirms qualifications, availability, salary expectations, or whatever that kind of, maybe those hard yeses and nos for you, that you can ask right away. Like, so availability and work expectations. Are you available to start in 2 weeks? If they say, no, I can't start for 6 months, that's not going to work. Salary expectations. If you're like, I can only afford a $50,000 budget and they're looking for 100, that's a straight no. If they say they're not willing to negotiate, it's an opportunity to quickly clarify some resume gaps or education or anything you want clarification on, and assess soft skills. Like, you can quickly gauge their professionalism on the phone, some enthusiasm, some communication when you're talking to them. What I can share for like a tip for an HR tip is make sure you're using a structured and consistent checklist. So you're doing it with all your candidates, and so that you know that you're asking the same questions and getting the same value out of it. So beyond the job board, where to post and source candidates. So we've talked about a couple options already. So low cost options, LinkedIn, or free options is LinkedIn, Indeed, Facebook, Chamber of Commerce sites if you're already a member. Industry platforms, typically, if you're looking for an association, you're going to have to pay for them, but it's a great way to find that skilled talent. There's job boards, and it could be anywhere. It could be college job boards, university. It could be the Alberta Job Bank. It could be Indeed, ZipRecruiter. There's so many platforms out there right now, and so many platforms are designed and have algorithms to pull from other ones as well. You can post at our local college or other colleges at their career center so that students can see them. You can connect with faculty. So if you're looking for a specific type of skill, you can actually connect with that person in the faculty and see if there is a apprenticeship or practicum placement for those students to match your job opening. Like I talked about before, there's always an internship, co-op, or practicum programs through post-secondary. You can do local trade shows and look at leveraging all those different tools and to try to get out there in the labor market and in the community. Specifically, when it comes to selecting, we're looking at different qualities. So we're looking for experience. So practical application of skills, knowledge in a previous role. So when you're looking at selecting a candidate, you're going to look at, do they have the experience I'm looking for? You're going to look up for those competencies, which are abilities and skills required to complete the role. So competencies are just, it's not just can Jane type, in Word, or can she access Word? It's can Jane type in Word efficiently while managing the phone? can somebody just answer the phone, or can somebody answer the phone politely and professionally within 1 minute on the first ring? It's very specific on what you're looking for when you're talking about those, the adaptability, drive, self-motivated, all those different competencies you're looking for that's related to the job description. Personal attributes. So that's the behavior traits and characteristics that contribute to a successful role. And so personal attributes is close to competencies, but it's more, are they driven? Do they have drive? It's kind of understanding that person and their attributes and what they would bring to that role. And you'll get that through structured interview questions. Knowledge, so understanding, it's really important that they, depending on the role you're hiring for and what level, that they have maybe understanding or industry knowledge. I'm always surprised when you do an interview and nobody's actually looked at your company. And so when you said, when you ask some things about your company, your divisions, or what you do, or your values, they don't need to know it off by hand. But if they didn't even look into it a little bit, are they quite interested? I've actually called some candidates in the past and it's like, sorry, what job am I applying for? And that's an instant no for me. They've applied for so many jobs now that they didn't take the time to organize and know who they applied for. To me, that was a hard no, especially for a role that requires, attention to detail, administrative or business administrative skills. For me, that just tells me that that person's very disorganized. If they have, your knowledge is also subject matter that drives performance. So if they have specific knowledge of subject matter that you're required for that role. When it comes to selecting, we're going to get into this more detail, but we're looking at conducting effective interviews, scoring candidates objectively is a really big one I want to spend a little bit of time on, and avoid common hiring mistakes and final decisions and reference checks we're going to look at when we're looking at selecting candidates. So when we're selecting candidates and we're conducting effective interviews, instead of a casual or unplanned conversation, structured interviews ensure every candidate is assessed on the same criteria. And why is that important? It ensures fairness and eliminates bias in hiring decisions. It ensures it makes it easier to compare candidates side by side and improves predictability of future job performance. I say the same thing as well, external hiring versus external hiring. So if you are hiring internal, take out the interview questions. If you don't have some, create them. Sit down with your candidates internally as well if you're looking promoting. Sometimes you'd be surprised how candidates will say, I wasn't given a fair opportunity to apply for a role. I wasn't given an interview. Sometimes they just want an opportunity to showcase their skills. And even if it's a no, the organization, the manager, supervisor looks like they did a fair and unbiased approach in hiring decision, just picking their favorite or who's been their most senior. And so it's a great opportunity, and you'd be actually quite surprised when you actually sit down and interview people. Sometimes your top performer is still your top performer and you're going to provide the position, but you see an up and coming, somebody who's motivated, somebody who didn't know had certain skills in education. And so it's a great opportunity to keep that on their personnel file under, applications or employment, whatever your folders are designed. And you can pick that out later and say, okay, like we had this conversation and I know a little bit about them, and you can keep that on for future reference as well. So the big thing is the fairness and eliminate buying and hiring decisions is a very huge one for an organization. Selecting. So when we are designing our interview questions, there's different types of questions you can ask. So there is a mix of questions that help evaluate past performance, problem solving, and cultural fit. It's always great to ask open-ended question versus yes or no, but sometimes you need a yes or no to solidify what they know or not. So do a mixture. The different types of questions you're looking for are behavioral, situational, job-specific, and company culture fit. So behavioral is tell me about a time when. So an example is tell me about a time when you had to resolve a conflict at work. What it assesses past behavior as a predictor of future performance. A situational type of question is what would you do if? So what would you do if a client refused to pay for services? So it's a situational, you get an idea of how they process information and how, based on their understanding, information, knowledge, experience, morals, that how they would deal with that situation. It provides critical thinking and problem solving when people respond. Job specific or technical questions are related typically to the role. So it may walk me how you would troubleshoot a software issue, or walk me, if it was an IT person, or, walk me through how you would deal with an employee relations issue, or give them something specific that they can, that maybe is related to the job that you think they're going to be dealing with on a basis, and you get an idea of their practical skills or industry knowledge. Maybe it's specific to, fixing something, or having electrical experience or carpentry experience. Company fit and culture. So as the next type of question, so it's describe a type of work environment where you thrive. So sometimes it's allowing people to tell you where they thrive, what kind of leadership they thrive under. How do they like to be trained? How do they like to work? How do they like to be managed? And so you get a good feel of the level of autonomy and the work environment they really work well under. And it gives you an idea of the compatibility with that manager or your company with that person. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into actually scoring and creating interview questions. So when you create your interview questions, you're going to look at your job description and say, okay, I'm going to make my questions, and this is just an example, but you're going to list out some questions and some criteria, or maybe the first set of questions, the header is technical skills, and you're going to ask that candidate 2 or 3 questions on the technical skills related to the role. And then maybe the next section is, a competency is really important for a role is problem solving skills. So you're going to add a couple problem solving skills that are maybe one's generic, but one's maybe more specific to the role. Cultural fit questions or cultural fit, that can be a heading in your interview questions. Work ethic and reliability is the next one. Communication skills and growth potential. So these are just examples of headings and questions you can ask. Sometimes if it's an organization that's having problems with employees that are accountable or showing up for work, maybe you have an accountability section and have some questions in there, and ask them behavioral question and how they've dealt with certain things in the past. I always love asking a question if you find a place where it fits, asking people a mistake they made and how they moved past it, or how they rectified it. Because sometimes you'll be surprised how asking that question, people will say, I haven't done a mistake. And then you'll get a feeling if people are honest, if they're accountable. So selecting the right question, sometimes a question is more than just asking a question. It's getting an idea of what that competency is behind it. So when you are designing your interview questions and you've picked and looked at your job description and figured, okay, I want to know maybe technical skills, past experience, problem solving, whatever your headers are, then when you're interviewing them, create your criteria. So which is your 1 to 5, and that's your Likert scale. And it's 1's a poor fit, 2's below average, 3's acceptable, 4 is above average, 5's ideal candidate. And look at what does that mean for technical skills. So like somebody who answers and it's like they have no experience, you'd give them a 1. And on a 5, you'd say they are expert level, can train others, strong ability, 8 years of experience, whatever it is. But you design that criteria so when you're going through the interview, you know where to kind of label them. At the end of your interview, what I always do is say, add up your criteria headings and say if it's, right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections, and the top score is at a 5 versus a 1 to 10 scale. I chose a 1 to 5 scale. You have a value that you can rate your candidate out of 30. So when you get down to rating your candidate, I always rate my candidates. And so you can see when you say you have top 2 and you don't know, okay, this person has really good leadership skills, but this person has good problem solving skills. If this person I'm worried about the accountability, or if this person I'm worried about the professionalism, or this person was better, you can start rating them. I always, when you're interviewing and selecting, usually always having somebody else in the room. If it's 2 people or a panel of 3, depending on the role, 3 might be a little bit too much for like an entry level role, might scare the applicant. They might have trouble responding. But depending on the role you're looking for, having somebody else to bounce ideas and seeing what they rate is really nice. So you sit down once the candidate leaves, write down and score. And I always have at the bottom of my interview questions a summary section. So I always give them obviously an opportunity in the interview to ask their questions. I write them down because you'd be surprised who's really engaged based on the questions they ask about like culture fit, team dynamics, reporting structure. What does the previous role do? Whatever the questions are, you'd be surprised when it's just like, no, I don't have any questions. I give an opportunity, I write their responses down, and then I always have at the bottom a summary. So sometimes I love a summary to put that person in a nutshell, that this person has strong leadership skills, may struggle in the technical skills of running payroll, never done it, would need support there, but has general experience supervising for 5 years, positive and bubbly attitude, would be a good fit for the team, something like that. If there's anything negative in there to say, you know, gaps would be, I have a concern on accountability based on this response. But you'd be surprised when you do a quick summary and you prepare your response to somebody else, you kind of helps you figure out what candidate you're looking for. And at the bottom, there's usually a higher, no higher, high potential, or a rating system at the bottom if you're going to look at that person moving on to a second interview or hiring, depending on how many steps in your hiring process you have. So using a structured rating scale and interview questions, it's very data-driven hiring, eliminating personal bias and allowing side-by-side comparisons with you and another manager or an owner. Each candidate is evaluated on criteria, and here we have 6. Scoring them from 1 to 5. But that criteria, you'd be surprised, especially in internal hiring, if you're promoting within and you struggle, it might help you find that right candidate when it's structured. You see how people answer, you see how you graded them. You'd be surprised by your candidates. When it comes to selecting, experience doesn't always equal success. So overvaluing experience over potential is sometimes a common mistake. Some candidates can learn quickly and outperform more experienced hires. I think we've all seen it or have it, where sometimes people coming from somewhere and having experience, I see it time and time again in HR, people think they know, they did it at an organization, this is how they do it. They can't let go of those old habits or ways. And unfortunately, they are harder to train and retrain than somebody who's green, that you can mold and design them and grow them with your values and culture and everything if you were to hire somebody more green. So look for problem solving, adaptability, and willingness to learn when you're looking for a potential along with experience. Don't rush in to fill a vacancy if they have a heartbeat. I know sometimes it's you used to be surprised, you put somebody in, it's the wrong fit, and then it disrupts the team even worse. So a quick hire often leads to bad hire, causing high turnover and loss of productivity in a team. So I always say try to avoid that. Take time to interview at least 3 to 5 candidates before making a decision. Like I said, and then you can use the candidates that you evaluated later on. And it doesn't matter if it's 3 or 6 or a year, you can always reach out to them. Ignoring red flags is another one. So a candidate's attitude, lack of preparation, or vague answers can signal deeper issues, lack of knowledge. So it's really important to not ignore those red flags and trust concerns that arise in interviews and reference checks. So really important when you do reference checks, really trust what they've said and don't ignore those red flags. So if you are struggling to choose a candidate, you can always do a paid trial period, hire both people for a temp period for a month, give them a project, see which one performs better. Or you can hire somebody for a fixed term and you don't have to have a permanent position. You can hire them for a 3 or 6 month period. Now, that's not always realistic. You may not be able to, people may want permanent or more secure employment, which I understand, but there are options with fixed employment or a fixed term contract that may help you as well with hiring. That is all I have for today for you guys. I hope you gain some valuable knowledge on recruitment and selection. And I'm hoping when I get more specific on onboarding next month that I'll kind of start putting everything together, that we're slowly going through that hiring process. I'll just open the floor to Amber.
Does anybody have any questions? Or does anybody want to share maybe an experience that they've had that's gone well or not well? Thank you, Teresa. It really was a great presentation, Tina. I had like questions and I got, I had to scratch them off because you kept answering them.
Did I? Yay!
As they went. Amy, you have a question?
No, hey, not so much a question. I just want to say thank you, Tina. That was really fantastic information. And as somebody who does interviews and hiring from a side not on the HR side, this was really informative. So I really thank you for that.
Yeah, and great for the feedback, Amy. I feel like sometimes, and I'm a lifelong learner, I really struggle when it's cookie cutter presentations and at the generic, it's like, do this, but don't, and then it's like, you never tell me how. And then you're like, so it's giving a little, I was trying to give more structuring those interview questions and giving a little bit of idea and evaluating and criteria and just ad-libbing a little bit off my industry experience and giving you guys that feedback. I was really hoping you can take it and fly versus just generic. So I really hope you learned something in this, and I hope to see you guys next month.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Naomi, you had a question? Your hand is up.
I did have a question, and maybe it's more in depth than what we have time for. So I have a situation in which I have both employees and contractors in my office. And so the admin staff are employees and the clinical staff are contractors. And so what I'm finding is that, of course, the contractors come and go as they please. And, basically just put it in the calendar that they, when they're going to be there and when they're going to be off. And so I'm finding that as the admin watch that behavior, that they feel like they should have the same flexibility. And I'm struggling to clarify. I don't know if it's clarify, it's very well laid out, I think, in their contracts or in the handbooks, but yeah, it's a struggle.
They feel like there's unbiased, and they feel like, well, why does that person come and go? And then all of a sudden we're held to a different standard. And I think the reality is it's based on the job or department or whatever it is. You have to be very clear with the employees that, the perk of being this role or that skill is that this comes with the territory. If you would love to progress, I don't know your organization, but if you'd like to progress to that or get to that role or whatever, maybe we can put you through schooling or education and you can get there one day. But right now, this department, the functionality and the business operations require this. And right. Yeah. So it's a difference, a doctor and lawyer get a perk of making their own schedule versus a front assistant. So a lot of times it's making clear that, this is your role, these are your expectations. And if people do have concerns, you can label them generically and put it in a team meeting or something. But sometimes just having that, if that one employee is having the problem and stirring the pot, sometimes it's good to have that conversation one-on-one. I always say, don't discipline the herd for one bad, I don't say cow, but bull. Because sometimes people stir the pot, right? And they're getting other people riled up, and they're not really, no, whatever. I'm interested, and you told me why. I understand it, but some people maybe they need a little bit more of a direct approach and more one-on-one explaining.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think there's some stuff going on that I have to sort out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have an organization I contract with, and they have a department that they are a little bit more strict, more climate facing. They're very different. They have a little bit, we try organizational to have everybody have the same rules, but there's a couple of intricacies, and they say, well, why are they allowed to do that? Why are they allowed to do that? So we're looking at they're all employees, though, is a little different, but we're looking at, okay, well, what's the perception from across departments? How do we make it so we don't look biased? How can we keep these people busy so they don't look on their phone, but these people can't be on their phone? So it's really trying to look at a broad level or an organizational level and how we can justify saying it in one area and not the other, and making sure the perception it looks like from different areas, because I really want to make sure people are clear on that. And you know what? Some people are going to have hurt feelings, and you're not going to be able to please everybody. But if you have clear and transparent communication, that's all you can really do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it's a little off topic, but I appreciate it was what I was thinking as you were going through this around whether it was a screening problem of mine.
Book an HR day with me with CFBC if you have specific questions. Community Features Oncorp brings me in once a month for I think it's the second last Wednesday of the month.
It's the
Ah.
last Wednesday, and I did write you down to contact you after, Naomi, to see if that would be helpful for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Any other questions? No? Okay, yeah, so just on that note, we do an HR day here where Tina does come in the office and does a one-to-one session and a free session with anyone that would be interested. So if you do have something that you'd maybe like to run by her, just send me an email and I will book you in for that. And yes, and also Tina, could you give me like just a quick overview of your employer bridge program? So I know we
So-
discussed other opportunities to find
So
people, but you have a program.
Yeah, so I have a couple. I mostly work with employers on usually like a project or a retainer or on demand basis to help them with like employee relation programs, setting up their HR department. I also have a side, kind of another portion of my business where I have employee bridge. So I do recruitment and selection, more specialized for senior level roles. But the employee bridge program is a program I designed because I'm really trying to help talent find local employers. So it's an opportunity for talent to post on my website, tell me if they're a welder, a truck driver, an administrative assistant. I kind of usually post people who I've vetted or met, or they previously utilizing my services for free, or they pay for my services and I vet them. So get a really good feeling for them so that I know if they're a good fit for an employer. On the other side, it's the employer portion. So it's usually for more front level staff, anything under 50,000 that I can be as hands-on or as you want me to through the whole recruitment process. So it's from all the way from posting to writing a contract and providing it and then giving you the onboarding, but you select kind of how involved you want to be in that process. And so that program's designed to hopefully try to entice employers to utilize my services to create your job descriptions, your job advertisements, and walk you through that process and help you if you're having trouble with selection or just don't have the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Tina, as always, for your time. I really appreciate it. We'll be back next month for onboarding. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. Have a lovely one.
Awesome. All right. See you, everybody. Bye.